So I messed up. A couple of weeks ago, I made a video covering some of the major new set leaks coming out around the Fallout TV show. I got pretty excited over these. They were rebuilding Novak, seemingly Freeside, and even the Vegas Strip itself was being reconstructed, at least parts of it. Unfortunately, I made that video about a week before some of the truly epic sets started going up and some of the really insane filming did begin. And even a week later, I was able to visit this set in person, so I have some of my own footage and experience being there. But yeah, we have some major updates on Season 2 of the Fallout TV show. In this video, we're looking at some of the biggest leaks yet, including some that might be coming from Fallout 76 of all places. I even think we're starting to have some clues around a potential release date for Season 2. For the last month and a half or so, this Vegas recreation was being built in North Hollywood. I just recently visited this location, and it's really two sets that are just very close to each other. First, we got what I guess is kind of a Freeside rendition. It's really a mix of things. You have the iconic Vegas entrance, which is typically in Freeside, but also side by side a bunch of new campers, seemingly some new residents in Freeside, and the iconic Vegas sign that's actually not in Freeside at all, as well as a bunch of casino signs that almost look like side signs for casinos. This led many to believe, including me, that the strip itself would all be CGI. We even saw this green screen behind the entrance to Vegas, so it just seemed to make sense. But no, this is Kilter Films, so about a week after that, construction on the actual Vegas Strip did begin. And now, several weeks later, we have seen all of the major casinos have their entrances and even signs built up, and even some extra stuff like Vault 21 and its sign going up, and even some nice side details were added around all of this. With one very notable standout here being the Gomorrah, who didn't just get a sign and an entrance, but instead was actually built into an old theater in Hollywood. So the Gomorrah definitely stands out because it's the one casino to actually have an interior. Most of the other ones just kind of have a fake entrance that closely resembles the game, but not much else going on beyond that. So could we possibly see characters actually going into the Gomorrah? That's certainly an interesting choice out of all of the casinos. The Gomorrah also saw a bit of a redesign compared to the games. The casino's top half looks radically different, but who knows, maybe it'll just be added with CGI later on. And what is genuinely different are these Egyptian-looking statues that are out front of the Gomorrah, perhaps giving the casino a more specific theme during pre-war or a fun event we'll see. Conversely, the Ultralux is way smaller than its in-game counterpart, so it's likely that this will just be a nice background entrance rather than something characters are actually interacting with. The same is true for the Tops, which looks like a department store now. So while yes, we are getting some form of a Vegas Strip recreation, I wouldn't get your hopes too high. It doesn't seem like we're going to actually see characters exploring and going into each of these individual casinos. We'll likely see one of them, and then almost certainly the Lucky 38, but more on that in a bit. And all of this became incredibly relevant in the next week because the lights came on. Tons of fans passing this set realized that not only did the strip sign turn on, but also many of the casino lights themselves and their signs are now fully illuminated, with a ton of the filming occurring at nighttime, so it definitely seems like we're going to be getting extensive nighttime shots of the strip. And all of this was really exciting for the community. The only time we really see Vegas in the TV show, it's completely destroyed. But clearly, more is going on here, because from these photos and videos, things appear to be working and actually going pretty well for Vegas. Except for better or for worse, it quickly became clear that all of this is actually pre-war. So I've been sent a variety of leaks around Season 2 filming of the Fallout TV show, ranging from revealing to, oh, you could lose your job over this. And several of the videos I did receive were filming at this set, although I was asked to not share these because they're quite revealing, easily some of the biggest spoilers we've seen thus far. Because in reality, what's going on here is some kind of pre-war party or event will be occurring at what seems like the Gomorrah. So you're going to have a bunch of characters prior to the bombs dropping, and you could tell based off how they're dressed and what else is going on, including some characters from the TV show. There's some characters that I didn't necessarily know were pre-war characters that actually are, which is curious. I was asked to not share further details on that, but yeah, for better or for worse, if you're seeing these clips or pictures of the Vegas Strip all lit up, these are all pre-war scenes. It seems like there's a few days of filming these pre-war segments, so we'll likely get a fairly extended look, and that does make sense, because seemingly it'll be the only time we actually see the strip up and functioning. And one clue as to what could be going on here are these strip signs. The Lucky 38 sign reads, "Welcome to the American Economic Forum, brought to you by Robco," which makes perfect sense. House owns the Lucky 38 and is also the CEO of Robco. I imagine we see some more pre-war House during some of these strip scenes, likely getting involved with the politics of the area and really building himself up as the House we eventually come to know. Because what happened almost immediately after all of this was destruction. Right around the time I visited the set, the pre-war variants were being ruined and really transitioning into a post-war strip. So what you'll notice is a ton of these buildings start to get this weathering look to look older and dilapidated. Several aspects of them actually getting damaged or destroyed to reflect this look. And the set overall was just transformed to be run down, a clear contrast to the lit up Vegas we saw mere days earlier. And even some of these signs are changed. The Gamora sign now features the same message as its pre-war variant, but it's completely disheveled with a bunch of letters hanging off or missing. The top sign was changed and now mentions the Rad Pack. The Rad Pack is mentioned on the in-game sign as well, but the exact wording here is different, and that actually makes a bit of sense. There is a quest in Fallout New Vegas where you can get involved with the Rad Pack and make certain choices around their future. So seemingly this sign was updated in between the events of Fallout New Vegas and the events of the Fallout TV show 15 years later. But not all of the signs did get changes, as even the Lucky 38 sign now does read, Revolting Cocktail Lounge, Hottest Tables in Town, which is identical to what the in-game version says. So sadly, yeah, this seems like a quite concrete confirmation that the Vegas Strip will in fact be destroyed in Season 2 of the Fallout TV show. And sadly, we had clues for this already. In some of the earlier set photos, we could even see this destroyed Securitron. But something interesting happened in the middle of all of this. This flyer was put up on the set, mainly to alert nearby residents of upcoming filming, but it reveals a ton. Overnight, on Friday, March 14th, Dakota, which is the code name for the Fallout TV show, and it literally uses the Fallout font, funny enough, but Dakota would be filming exterior dialogue scenes with brandishing weapons, stunts, wet down, atmospheric effects intermittent pedestrian and traffic control, animal with trainer, lights on stands, and lifts. And even a controlled propane fireball effect up to 30 feet high in the parking lot would occur. This on its own confirms a few things. Seemingly, Lucy the Ghoul and Dogmeat will be here. We can see them traveling together already, and the animal trainer being on set does seem like a pretty solid confirmation that, yeah, they're all going to be here. But also, this giant fireball certainly sounds like a mini nuke, or perhaps one of the nuclear cars blowing up. 30 feet into the sky is really high, and there's not many things, even in Fallout, that can achieve that. All of this filming was meant to occur on the 14th, and a few days later, fans returned to the Hollywood set to find even further destruction and more details. Many of the buildings were notably more destroyed now, with the Lucky 38 entrance having the most obvious detail change with Deathclaw scratches on the doorway. And this all makes a ton of sense. In the ending credits of Season 1, we do see a destroyed New Vegas with NCR vertibirds, Deathclaws, and Securitrons who were visibly scratched up by those Deathclaws. And as nicely spotted by one Reddit user, we can even see a modded Deathclaw head prop being used here. Well, Just Bottle Digging, the user who has been posting many of these set photos, heard from a source that a full-on Deathclaw costume or animatronic is being used as well, and it's actually different looking compared to this Deathclaw head. And I imagine this will all be pretty similar to that Season 1 Gulper fight, except this time around it's likely going to be a bigger, more deadly, and badder Deathclaw. I could see this playing out as someone uses a fat man to finally finish off the Deathclaw in the end. We know that at the start of Season 2, Lucy and the Ghoul are seemingly chasing Lucy's dad to Vegas. Lucy's dad does appear to arrive first, and based off these scratches, many are speculating that he could be inside of the Lucky 38. Maybe he was looking for House or somebody else in there, but was likely pinned down by the Deathclaw, and that's why all of these scratches are on the door. This little prop head will likely be used as a visual guide for the actors. While the Deathclaw itself will be fully CGI, just like creatures in Season 1, the actors can reference and look at this little head to know where they should be looking and reacting. And the more of this I see, the more I wonder if getting to the strip is really going to be a mid to late season event during Season 2. Perhaps this Deathclaw fight is truly one of those epic late season moments, like the NCR versus Brotherhood of Steel battle in Season 1. Lucy and the Ghoul have quite a few stops to make along the way, as we've already seen filming at a Starlight Drive-In with Dogmeat, Novak, and yes, Dinky will be returning here. Freeside, with all these new camper vans, feels like it could be almost an entire episode potentially. The fate of Freeside is a bit unknown from these set photos. As far as sets go, we haven't seen anything that looks like a actual Freeside city itself. We've just seen this set, which seems to be a rough representation. Perhaps the Fallout TV show isn't actually going to go to Freeside, and instead they'll really just focus on the Strip and the Strip gates. And there are even now questions arising around Fallout New Vegas Day, as this too could relate to the Season 2 release date. New Vegas Day is set in the real-life Good Springs, Nevada, of course the starting location of Fallout New Vegas. This November will be the 4th time this event does occur. I actually went there in 2024, and it was awesome. If you're thinking thinking about going, I would highly recommend it. Thousands of Fallout fans all gathering together, many with amazingly done costumes. We've heard how New Vegas Day is set to get something special in 2025 though, and I do wonder if this could tie into the Fallout TV show where even its release date, Season 2 filming seems to have been going far smoother compared to Season 1. We even just heard how the TV show received $153 million in California tax credits, which could suggest Season 2 is even bigger than Season 1. It certainly feels like the budget could be higher with that tax credit in mind. Kilter Films are the ones behind the Fallout TV show, and they also made Westworld, which honestly has a fairly similar situation, where Westworld had this massive breakout Season 1, which had a ton of success. So then, HBO encouraged them to get a quick turnaround for Season 2, as Westworld ended up becoming one of the premier shows on HBO. It almost feels like the same exact thing's happening right now with Fallout. It became this giant release for Prime Video, and we keep hearing how they want to get Season 2 out as fast as possible. That's both the showrunners as well as Prime execs saying that. Season 2 of Westworld ended up dropping 18 months after Season 1, and it debuted to a largely disastrous reputation from which the show really just never recovered. I am a die-hard Westworld fan. It's probably my favorite show ever created, but yeah, people just fell off with Season 2. And I could totally see something very similar happening with Fallout Season 2. We keep hearing how they want Season 2 out as fast as humanly possible, and an 18-month gap would put that release date around October. October 23rd is the day the bombs dropped in the Fallout games, and it would be a pretty sweet release date for Season 2, but also Fallout New Vegas Day is in mid-November. This takes place at one of the most iconic locations from Fallout New Vegas, which is literally where the TV show is headed, and we even hear how something special is going on at Fallout New Vegas Day this year, so it just feels like something could happen around all of this. As of right now, we don't actually know a release date for Season 2, but based off these quotes, I would certainly imagine they're targeting either late 2025 or early 2026 as a more safe prediction. Of course, you have to factor in that there's going to be a fairly large holiday break there. But we may have also have just gotten an update around Season 2 of the Fallout TV show from a surprising source, a Fallout 76 trailer. Fallout 76 just got a major new Ghoul update. So right now in game, you could transform into a Ghoul, and it comes with a whole suite of new perks and abilities. It's honestly pretty cool, and right now it feels like a great time to be playing this game to me, but more on that in a moment because there are also massive problems with the game right now. To go along with the Ghoul updates, Bethesda dropped a new trailer, and things look familiar here. We see a human character dragging their injured leg over to a new Ghoul NPC, and then going through some kind of transformation process. This quite closely resembles exactly what happens to Thaddeus in the TV show. He is first seen dragging his injured foot as this mysterious doctor eventually gives him some sort of serum liquid to inhale. The inhaler and serum is almost identical to what we have in Fallout 76 to turn into a Ghoul. It's pretty clear that what is in-game was modeled off of what was shown in the show. And they're even selling some apothecarial things in the atomic shop to tie all of this together, and there's even a cowboy outfit if you're interested. So a lot of the past speculation around this scene was the fact that Thaddeus was injected with the forced evolutionary virus and turning into a super mutant. I mean, we also see super mutants in Season 1 very briefly. Now it definitely seems a lot more likely that he's actually turning into a Ghoul. I mean, even directly in the show. Right after Thaddeus gets injured and can immediately heal himself, Maximus speculates that he is in fact turning into a Ghoul.
That is... I think you might be a Ghoul.
Part of the overall confusion with all of this was Thaddeus' healing capabilities. He can heal his foot and neck almost instantly, which hasn't typically been a function of ghouls or super mutants. But I think in reality, this is all just a bunch of new Ghoul lore. Also in the show, we see the Ghoul consistently surviving otherwise lethal shots, at least mostly. At other times, the Ghoul is down for the count and requires more of this special Ghoul juice to get back up for some reason. That was never really explained in the show, but funny enough, I think Fallout 76's most recent update may have just gamified all of this and just kind of explained what's actually happening here. After turning into a Ghoul in Fallout 76, you gain access to a bunch of new things. You can almost think of turning into a Ghoul as a new player class in-game. They have access to 30 completely new perk cards, including 2 legendary perks, along with several new mechanics that just create some completely new build and playstyle opportunities. And of course, your character actually looks different. You're going to look like a Ghoul now. But as this ties back around into the Fallout TV show, one of the core new features of becoming a Ghoul is your glow. Now, radiation will heal you. and you can establish an entire second health bar by absorbing enough rads. This secondary health bar is known as your glow. In the game, a bunch of perks take advantage of glow, so you can even spend a bit of it for more damage or something along those lines. But this makes perfect sense for the show also. Ghouls have more HP and healing, but not unlimited. The ghoul survives this shot because he has a second health bar. It didn't deal enough damage to him. But over time, that health bar gets depleted and does require some more radiation to top back off. And I mean, even in game, I am constantly drinking toxic goo to get my glow bar back. It is incredibly similar to what is going on in the TV show. And just overall, I think this makes a lot more sense. One of the big complaints of season 1 was the fact that we never really got an explanation of all of this new ghoul lore. We don't really know how the ghoul works. Thaddeus gradually converting into a ghoul would give us a lot more insight into that process. And it just feels like from a plot perspective, a ghoul makes a lot more sense than a super mutant. And yeah, you can become a ghoul right now in Fallout 76. The update dropped earlier last week, and unfortunately has become a bit of a mixed bag. Like lots of the recent Fallout 76 updates on paper, they're awesome, but in practice, they end up having some major issues around the update. And believe me, I got the full bore of those issues with this one. Actually becoming a ghoul has a full-fledged quest associated with it. It's pretty simple, it won't take super long as everything goes smoothly, and after converting, you can then customize that character with their new ghoulish appearance. And honestly, one of the weird parts about this update is it's not even just the ghoul that makes this so fun, it's really everything else that has been happening around the game in addition, including this update and several of the past ones. Over the past few months, Fallout 76 got new endgame raids that are genuinely difficult, a bunch of balance changes, 4-star legendaries, which, along with this new class of the ghoul, are really starting to shift the meta. For the first time in years, new builds are viable and even more powerful in Fallout 76. And it really just creates this very fun gameplay loop to experiment with all of this. You can fast travel around the map, checking out people's camps, trying to buy new weapons, mods, or armors to try and spec out into one of those new builds. Playing as a ghoul can be incredibly strong. I'm using an energy heavy weapons build, and I honestly just felt invincible at points. I had some toxic stuff, and my health instantly regenerates into a second health bar, and I deal pretty decent damage, able to take down most of the common enemies in just a couple of shots. Alternatively, you can lean into being a feral ghoul. This is also a new feature of the ghoul update. This will dramatically improve your melee combat, opening up even further build options, but it'll dramatically nerf certain other aspects of your character. And even things like pistols are finally viable in Fallout 76. Pistols have pretty much been garbage since the release of this game, but now, 6 years later, they got some attention. So for the first time really ever, we're seeing comprehensive and major shifts in the Fallout 76 meta. And to me, it's just been incredibly fun to experiment with all of this. Although sadly, for as much fun as I've been having with this Ghoul update, it just seems like Bethesda can't seem to get these updates down, as it is yet another Fallout 76 update that is releasing with broken features or major bugs, which is basically a constant at this point. To get through this quest of turning into a ghoul actually took me 8 different servers, and I encountered a wide array of bugs. Right off the bat, this was incredibly laggy, NPCs taking a literal minute of real life time to respond to my dialogue choice, if they respond at all, and I was just kind of left there wondering what was actually going on. Lots of times when starting dialogue with an NPC, that opening line just wouldn't end. They wouldn't be talking anymore, but nothing would progress, so I'd constantly have to skip that first line of dialogue. Not a game-breaking bug by any means, but why is this an issue and why is it happening so often? Sometimes I couldn't talk to NPCs, or I would just walk up to them and no audio would play from them. There's a bug where if you have too much radiation resistance, you can't actually become a ghoul, so you'll just get disconnected from the server. This kept happening to me and I couldn't figure out why. I eventually just tried taking off a bunch of my armor pieces and eventually got through. One of the ghoul perk cards is currently causing issues where it'll randomly unequip your other perk cards, and even jetpacks sort of broke with this update. Now, if you just try and look forward while applying your jetpack, you're not going to go very far. But if you look up or down, your jetpack now has boosters and will send you even further than before. So it's kind of a weird trade-off where all of a sudden the direction you look is really important while flying. And no, most of this isn't actually game-breaking, it's really annoying. Like to me, becoming a ghoul, having to constantly hop servers and then just still getting bug after bug after bug was a really frustrating experience. And I think if I was just a casual person regularly playing Fallout 76, not planning to make a video on the update, I would have quit at some point. It took me several hours to turn into a ghoul, while it probably should have taken about 30 minutes. And if you've been following these Fallout 76 updates, you'll know that this is unfortunately apparently becoming quite common. I really like the direction this game is headed with its content, and it does feel like we're getting a healthy amount of content right now, more than we were previously. But the bugs are also flowing quite freely right now. A lot of these updates are coming out with major things broken. And like, okay, on one hand, sure, that happens, you just need better testing, but there is an entire dedicated public test server where users can test this stuff and report feedback, and yet we're still getting consistent broken updates. Obviously, something in this pipeline isn't working. So it's a weird situation where, yeah, the updates have been pretty cool for Fallout 76, but I'd almost wait until a month after the update once some of the bugs get fixed out to then actually start experiencing it. But more is coming. The Big Bloom is starting on April 29th, and this is honestly a pretty big deal for the game, as this will be the first new seasonal event in 3.5 years, since Spooky Scorch during October of 2021. I guess technically Invaders from Beyond did drop in March 2022, but is an Alien event really seasonal? But overall, those are your updates on Fallout. What's been going on with the Fallout TV show, some of the huge leaks coming out around that, and also how that might tie into Fallout 76 with its new Ghoul update, which, while buggy, has honestly been pretty fun for me. I'm enjoying the game now more than I have in years.
Caution. Increased hostile presence detected.